The movie opens up in a prison where a police officer named Green is preparing himself to deliver some money to one of the prisoners, Balaam. Balaam is a high-profile prisoner who is kept in a separate prison served by his personal guards and has access to luxurious facilities. Despite being in prison, Balaam is able to run his drug-selling business alongside human trafficking and weapon transport. He believes that the prison is the safest place where his enemies cannot attack him. In the next scene, new prisoners are brought to the prison, and it is announced that they will be kept in the same building as Balaam. Among the prisoners is an ex-officer named Jack, who is accused of killing a fellow officer on duty and robbing a bank. Officer Green stops Jack before he can enter his assigned prison cell and physically assaults him. He berates Jack for killing an officer and warns him that he will not survive for long in the prison. The scene then flashes back to a week before when Jack and his fellow officers robbed a bank. It is revealed that the bank robbery was a plan to acquire enough evidence against Balaam and the corrupt government officials who are involved in the criminal activities. After successfully obtaining the evidence from the bank lockers, Jack and his colleagues try to escape but are caught by other officers. In the ensuing crossfire, Jack's colleagues are killed, but Jack manages to escape and seeks refuge in a building. As he is about to leave the building after a fight with officers, he is confronted by another officer who threatens to kill him. Jack recognizes the officer as the one involved in his wife's murder. In a desperate move, Jack reveals his face to the officer and jumps from the building, taking the officer down with him. The officer dies, but Jack miraculously survives the fall. Later, Jack leaves the evidence bag inside the apartment of a reporter named Tricia. He provides her with all the evidence about corruption and the involvement of government officials with Balaam. Jack asks her to report the case to the district attorney's office. The scene reverts back to the present, and Jack is now being kept in the prison along with an inmate named Silva. While in prison, Jack is targeted by Balaam's cousin, Semyon, who threatens him to provide the security money. Jack refuses, and when Semyon and his men try to attack him, Jack fights back, causing Semyon to get apprehended by the prison guards and thrown into solitary confinement. In the next scene, Jack is taken to a secret prison where he is allowed to converse with Balaam via security cameras. Balaam warns Jack not to interfere in his business and threatens him with the same fate as his wife if he continues to do so. However, Jack remains unfazed by the threats. Later, 3 of Balaam's men enter Jack's cell and attack him, but to their surprise, Jack manages to overpower them without disturbing his roommate, Silva. Meanwhile, Tricia investigates the evidence she obtained and successfully uncovers Jack's real identity. Tricia visits the district attorney's office to meet him in person and provide him with the evidence against the corrupt officials. However, she is unable to meet him and instead encounters Mark, the district attorney's assistant, who insists that she hand over the evidence to him. Suspicious of Mark's intentions, Tricia leaves the office without providing him with the evidence. In the next scene, Tricia waits for the attorney to leave his office so that she can meet him in person. When the attorney finally steps outside, she approaches him and reveals everything about the evidence she has against the corrupt government officials and police officers. The attorney, Johnson, gives her his personal card and advises her to contact him if she needs any help. Following this, Tricia returns to her office and starts writing a detailed article exposing the corruption and the involvement of high-ranking officials with Balaam's criminal empire. She includes the evidence she obtained, along with interviews from witnesses and victims of Balaam's operations. Meanwhile, inside the prison, Jack continues to resist Balaam's control and gathers support from other inmates who are tired of living under Balaam's reign. Silva, his cellmate, becomes his closest ally and helps Jack in planning their escape. Using their resourcefulness and knowledge of the prison's layout, Jack and Silva manage to find hidden tunnels that were previously used for smuggling. They recruit a few trusted inmates and start digging an underground passage that leads outside the prison walls. As the article exposing the corruption gets published, it creates a public outcry, putting pressure on the district attorney's office to take action. District Attorney Johnson realizes the magnitude of the situation and starts an investigation into the allegations. Inside the prison, chaos ensues. Balaam becomes aware of Jack's escape plan and orders his men to eliminate him before he can expose the corruption. A series of intense confrontations take place between Jack and Balaam's henchmen as they try to stop him from reaching the tunnel. With each passing day, the tension inside and outside the prison reaches its peak. The corrupt officials and Balaam become desperate to silence Jack and Tricia, fearing that their empire will crumble if the truth comes out. In a climactic sequence, Jack and his group of inmates finally complete the tunnel and make their escape. They emerge outside the prison walls, but their freedom is short-lived as Balaam's armed men are waiting for them. A fierce gun battle ensues, with Jack and his allies fighting for their lives. Simultaneously, Tricia receives a threatening phone call from Mark, the assistant to the district attorney. He reveals that he is in league with the corrupt officials and warns her to stop her investigation if she values her life. Unfazed by the threats, Tricia gathers her strength and resolves to bring down the entire criminal network. Back at the prison, Jack and his allies manage to overpower Balaam's men, but Balaam himself appears, wielding a gun and ready to take them down. In a tense standoff, Jack confronts Balaam, revealing his knowledge of Balaam's involvement in his wife's murder. Just as Balaam is about to pull the trigger, the sound of approaching sirens fills the air. The district attorney's office, accompanied by law enforcement, has arrived, responding to the public outcry and the evidence provided by Tricia. Balaam realizes that his empire is crumbling and attempts to escape, but he is apprehended by the authorities. The corrupt officials, including Mark, are also exposed and arrested. In the aftermath, Jack and Silva are hailed as heroes for their bravery and role in exposing the corruption. Tricia's article and investigative work earn her recognition and respect as a fearless journalist. The movie ends with Jack, Silva, and Tricia meeting outside the prison walls, watching as the authorities